Hey guys, so on today's project I'm doing a DIY workbench. This project is built around half a sheet of plywood square, so it's 48 inches by 48 inches, and it's got 3 levels. It's got a working surface, it's got 2 storage levels. What I tried to do is use some inexpensive materials to make this working surface something really interesting to look at. And the construction method I used was very simple. I started building up the layer on the very bottom, and I started working my way up. You'll see in the build, I tried to give you guys as many steps and be as thorough as possible. I did this DIY workbench for about $100, and you might be able to even do it cheaper, especially if you're going to use some scrap wood that you may have laying around for your legs here. I did use casters on this bench. That way I could make this very modular. I could move it out in my driveway if I needed to. And I did use caster wheels on this project. You'll see in the build what I used. But my plan is to take like a 2x6 and maybe brace it up when I want to have a real solid surface. So I'm not going to use the real fancy casters that have the locks or anything. I tried to get one of the cheaper caster wheels for this project that I could find at Lowe's. So okay guys, all I'm going to do right now is I'm going to lay down some scrap wood underneath the plywood. This is just going to be a barrier so my saw blade doesn't hit the floor. I want my plywood to be nice and flat when it's on the floor so I can cut through it and it doesn't bind up. The important thing for running I'm going to be using a skill saw or a circular saw. And the important thing is that the wood doesn't bind, it doesn't flex too much when you're cutting through it. So all I'm going to do now is gather up some scrap wood that I have laying around and make a little foundation, and then put my plywood on top of that and then start measuring and cutting. So right now I'm just going to clamp both sides. I'm going to clamp over here and over here on my big ruler, and that way my saw stays nice and straight the whole way across. Okay guys, so now I've got my first piece cut. This plan calls for three of these sections, 4x4, 4 feet by 4 feet square sections. So I have to pick these up and lay down one more piece of plywood and make that same cut again. Okay, now I'm working on the casters for my workbench. So I was just going to share with you guys the thought process here. What I want is for my feet to be able to fit underneath the workbench as I'm working. Like when When I get up close to the workbench, I just want my feet to be able to go underneath so I'm not leaning over it as much. So these, I'm going to cut a piece of this 2x4 and attach it to the plywood bottom. These are going to basically be the mounting base for the casters. So here I've got like a little, about a 2-inch thick piece of 2x4 or 1.5 or so, and then I have this caster wheel, and altogether it's probably at least 2 inches, 2 to 3 inches. So that should give my feet plenty of room to slide underneath my bench when it's all done. So right now I'm just going to mark my plan is to put 5 caster wheels, one in each corner and then one in the center. They're all going to swivel. So that's my plan. So I'm going to cut basically a square for each caster wheel and mount these, and then then cut this and mount it to the plywood. So guys, I just did this to mark it up. So I like this height right now. I could even go up a little higher if I needed it to, but so basically this can give me a lower storage area and then a center storage area and then a workbench on top, like a good flat surface that hopefully won't be cluttered with stuff just to do projects on. So now so if I want to, I could put up to 4 of these black storage containers. They're like 39-gallon containers that you can get just about anywhere. So I think I like this height. I'm gonna keep kind of playing with it, and then start adding some measuring out for legs and stuff. Okay, right now I figured I would work on my very bottom sheet. This is going to be the actual very bottom side that's going to touch the floor. This is going to have the casters. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to find the center of the square. I've just got a 2x4. It doesn't have to be real exact, but I'm going to just do an X across here, mark with my pencil and do an X, find the center, because I do want to put a caster wheel in the very center of the bottom piece. I know that could cause some rocking, maybe a little wobble. I think it's going to be important to have a center support for this type of build. So we're going to have some compromises with having a table that has a little wobble in it, but I think it's going to be necessary if I want it to roll. I could just build it to be stationary and it wouldn't be an issue, but I do want to move it around because when you have a small shop, you like to be pretty modular with everything. So that's why I have these multi-layer shelves, and I always can add more if I need to. So basically I'm just going to put some hot glue underneath all these mounting plates for my casters, and then I'm going to put a little clamp on here just to hold it there for about a minute, and then I'll start drilling my pilot holes for my screws. Then I've got a weight here in the center. I'm going to put this weight on top of this one. This is going to be my center caster wheel, and as soon as I get the glue on here and set it, I'm going to weight it down for a minute or two. So yeah, it's just a cool little trick. just kind of like an extra, it's like a extra little set of hands here. Now I'm gonna drill holes, pilot holes all the way through my mounting base and then the plywood. That way I can flip this whole thing over once I've got everything drilled, and then put my screws coming in through this way. Because I still have to mount my caster wheel, so I'm kind of taking that in consideration. I'm gonna do my mounting. I'm gonna mount the base to the plywood using the corners here and here, and that way it'll give me plenty of room to actually mount the caster. So I'm gonna just put my pilot hole all the way through so I can see it on this side and make a nice clean installation. So I thought I would share this little trick with you here. So one of the things when you drill through plywood, sometimes the drill bit will push through and it'll split the other side of the plywood. It just pushes it out when it's drilling. So here's a little trick. You can just take a piece of scrap and you clamp it down to the back side. Like this is my plywood that I don't want to damage here. And so this is my scrap piece right here. So I clamped it down real good. And the tighter you can clamp it, the better. But when I drill through here, it's not gonna bust the last layer of plywood right here. It's gonna make a nice clean hole all the way through. Well, at least that's the plan. That's what we're hoping for here. So if you have a piece of scrap wood, just clamp it down, and then you can drill your holes, and hopefully you won't have any, they call it blowout or something like that, on your nice piece that you're trying to protect. So guys, I'm going to show you the results of the clamping of the back plate. This is one of the corners I use the clamp with the piece of scrap plywood on the back, and you can see here these holes didn't blow out at all. I wish I would have done this on all the corners, but I was just working, and the idea, I forgot that was a little trick you could do. And you can see over on this corner that when the drill bit came through, it just kind of blew out the wood. And over here it's pretty bad. I'm kind of wishing I wouldn't have done that. So this is kind of what happens when you just drill through and don't really take your time. But I can just put a little glue in here and kind of touch that up. So the casters I'm using, they're all metal. They have like a nice steel wheel. These are actually very inexpensive. They're only about $5 or $6. They're probably not, caster wheels can go anywhere from $5, $6 on up to like $50, $60 a piece. So for this project, I think these will be fine. I'm kind of expecting them to get pretty squeaky, and that can get pretty annoying when you have really squeaky wheels on something that you move around. But hopefully it'll work. But this build, my goal was to do this whole build for about $100. So these cheaper wheels kind of are part of that thought process. And I'm going to attach my casters with these machine screws. Well, they're wood screws, but they're like a 3/16 thickness here. It's kind of hard to see. They're called like a number 12 by 3/4. But they're basically like a 3/16 thickness of a shank, which is a little thicker than a normal deck screw. So, and they have a nice button head, so they'll be a little stronger than a deck screw, especially on the head side. Okay guys, now I'm going to measure the setback where I'm going to put my first level of supports here. I'm just going to use the thickness of the board to make a quick little measurement here and then here. So that way, so each place where I put my support, it'll all be even. So my game plan here is I'm putting on this first layer of supports here. This is the rolling base that I created. So now I'm going to add on my 5 supports, and what I'm going to go ahead and do is hold it in place with super glue. I'm going to hold it in place with hot glue, and then I'm going to do just put a screw in at an angle here, probably one from each side, to hold it in place. Okay guys, I got on my post put on the first level. This is the bottom level. I got the casters underneath. These things feel really secure, so I'm going to grab the next layer. I'm going to set it down on top and see how it looks. And also, guys, what I was telling you, I wanted to make sure my feet would go underneath my bench, and as you can see here, I can get my feet under here real well. And that's just for comfort. That's just for ergonomics. Whenever you're working up close to a bench like this, you really don't have to lean over it too much. So getting as close as you can is great. Um, but right now, this is a great height. I can get my shoe and everything underneath here. There's about 4-inch gap down there, so I think it's turning out great. But yeah, this thing right now, this top layer is not secured or anything. It's just sitting up there. So, but this thing just looks so cool. And when you have the containers in there, and your tools, it's just going to be really neat. And it's just I've never had a workbench that I could roll around and just move out of the way. And we have so much stuff in this garage. I had to actually put some of my the bicycles and stuff on the side of the house so I could do this project. But you see here that it's kind of just a really interesting design. So anyway, well, stay tuned, guys, and let's get some more work done. So I'm just kind of going over the paint that I'm using and the brush and the method I'm going to use to paint with. Now it's going to be really hard for me to keep this top clean right now because you know how it is when you want to paint, you just want to paint everything. But so far, my plan is not to paint the top, I'm going to put some stain maybe on the edge and do something neat with that, and then just put a clear coat just to protect the top. I've got some spar varnish over here that I've had left over that I'm going to use. It's this Helmsman, or it's a Minwax Helmsman spar urethane, and it's really supposed to protect in the sunlight and things, and for rain and moisture. So I really like these type of products because I live in a really humid environment down here on the Texas coast, and anytime you can put protectant stuff products on your wood projects, your crafts and things like that, it really helps just extend the life of anything. Because this plywood's really soft wood, and it'll really open up over time because that's just the nature of it. It's a soft wood, so but it's affordable for what it is. So that's what we use, and that's what we make work. So I just want to show you guys this product here. It's a clear satin, and I may even put this over the paint. I'm not sure, but we'll just give this a try and start getting this done. So just stay tuned, guys. Hey guys, so this paint I'm using, it's really thick and it's really hard to spread. It's like almost like an epoxy type finish. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to take a sponge And I'm just going to cut a straight line across it and just use this as a spreader. Cool, see? Now I got a straight line, so I'm just going to use this to spread on my, my paint and see how that works. Might be a nice little trick. I was going to show you guys this little trick. It's a trick I'm doing with some painter's tape. I'm getting ready to put down some stain, so I kind of want to get as much of the dust off as I can. And a tack cloth would be great, but I don't have any tack cloth or anything special. I did take my vacuum and try to vacuum up as much dust as I could. But right now I'm just going to show you what I do with this painter's tape. I just folded it so where the sticky part was on the outside. And I'm just going to wipe down my areas that I want to get the most dust off. And just the adhesive on here is going to grab all that extra dust. That way when I put down my tape and I'm going to do a little staining here on the edges and stuff. So this is going to be a nice little improvised tack cloth. So I just thought you guys might like that little tip. I don't know if you've ever tried it, but I've used it for some other applications here and there. But yeah, tape is just, duct tape or painter's tape is better because it doesn't have all the really heavy adhesive. But it works great for something like this. So yeah, on your next project, if you need to do a little prep work, give it a try. Alright guys, so I'm still looking for ways to make my table stand out and make it really cool looking. So I had this old metal star on the side of my house, and I just cleaned it up a little bit. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to use it as a template and trace around it, and then I'm going to I'm going to tape it off in the center of my table, and then I'm going to use stain to make a pattern with it. So I'll have a nice star in the center of my table just to make it look neat, and for like a decoration purposes and just for a cool look. So hopefully it works good. It turns out my tape seems to be holding the edge of my stain. So that was the big factor here, was to make sure I had some good tape. I had to make a late night run to Walmart and find some better tape than what I had. So we're just gonna see how this goes and give it a try. just want to show you guys how this stain came out. It's such a simple staining procedure here. I'm not a very good stainer. I don't get into any of the fancy staining things that you can find on the tutorials. I would like to. There's nothing wrong with those really. You know, fine woodworking is amazing. I strive to get better at it too. But this is such a simple design here. This is just a construction grade plywood, like you saw earlier in the video. And all I did was tape off the edge and then stain the edge, and it just gives it such a really cool look. And it just transforms everything. And then you saw earlier I took a metal star and I just traced around it with tape, taped off a metal star, and then removed the metal star, and then came back and made a nice trace, or a nice outline here with tape. And then I just stained the inside. Same color, of course. I just kept it simple. And once all that dried, I just came back with some clear polyurethane spar varnish and just put a nice protective coating of varnish on here. And it just makes this table look just amazing. The paint I use is gloss paint, gloss red down here, and it just looks shiny and it's awesome. You could even put the varnish over that also. But I'm just so happy with this, and I was lucky that my tape did a good job for me. But one thing I did learn through this project was even good painter's tape will sometimes pull up the plywood. I removed my tape in some places and actually chipped up the wood, and I was pretty surprised by that. But it's like I said, this is just construction grade plywood, so it's not the expectation of it, and the glue is not as good as other types. So but having said that, it's just, I'm really happy with it. Also, I was going to show you guys some of the kind of the thought process here and the features. I kind of designed this around these storage containers. These are 27-gallon containers that you can get at Lowe's, Home Depot, places like that. They're very common. You see them everywhere. And this is one of those projects that kind of was designed around these, so I could use these kind of universally through my different projects. And so this table could probably hold, as you can see here, it could probably hold 4 on each level. They might be hanging over just a little bit if you were to put 4 of these. But really, it looks like the best is 2 on each level. And then you can fill the rest of it up with whatever containers. And something I also didn't really plan for, but it just turned out this way. A 5-gallon bucket fits in here. And I was like, that is too cool, because everybody uses 5-gallon buckets. So I was like, that's just too cool. So if you didn't want to use containers, let's say you just like throwing your tools, like your power tools and stuff, in 5-gallon buckets, because we all do it. I know I do. This would be great too. And I really don't know exactly how all the different mounting things I'm going to mount on this table, but it's kind of dark here, so spin this around. I put some clamps here to show you can store a bunch of clamps here on the edge. I know that's awfully dark, but, and just some earmuffs, things like that. And I just threw some of my power tools in there, just so you could see just how many tools this could hold by size. But this table is 48 inches square. It's just a half a sheet of plywood, so it has a large surface area. And you know, if you got really adventurous, you could go up another level, or you could make a roof, kind of like a roof per se for this. Just depends on what you want to do with it. And yeah, I'm just so happy with the way the stain held up. And I could probably sand this a little bit and add more layers of the polyurethane just to protect it even more. But yeah, this thing is just really nice.